How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Infinite Sports. I'm your host, Kenneth Gruenfelder, to give you guys an update on the Yankees' West Coast trip. I hope everybody had a good Memorial Day weekend. Also, make sure to check out the Knicks recap video that is out that I recorded with Ben this morning. But yeah, let's talk about the Yankees because it's been a little bit. So, the Yankees wrapped up their series with the Colorado Rockies. They had their first game against the Angels last night. So we'll go through the Rockies series and then we'll touch upon the game last night out in Anaheim. So Yankees are playing the Rockies, the worst team in baseball. Coming into the series, the Rockies had 8 wins, and they came out of the series with 9 wins because they took the first game of the 3-game set. And it was embarrassing losing to that team. Now, you know that team is going to win more than 8 games. And what's crazy is on the Yes broadcast, they were talking about how they were on pace for 26 wins out of 162. And the way the Yankees have been playing, coming off of the high against the Mets, taking 2 out of 3 in the Subway Series, you sweep the Texas Rangers, you beat Jacob deGrom, well, a game that Jacob deGrom pitched in. You're able to get by Nathan Eovaldi, winning 1-0 on the Yorban Vivas home run. But yeah, I mean, the Rangers had good pitching, but they couldn't hit. Their offense couldn't hit. So they swept that series. You come into this series, you're expected to win all 3 games. And looking at this game, they didn't win because they didn't hit, right? The offense really couldn't get anything going. Aaron Judge was responsible for the 2 runs. Well, he scored 2 of the runs. He hit the home run, made his debut at Coors Field. He hit 2 home runs in the series. And this was the second run of the game, the home run was. But in the first inning, you had Paul Goldschmidt driving in a run in the first inning. Judge scored on it because Goldschmidt was batting, right? Because Goldschmidt was not, actually, what was the lineup on? Yeah, so Grisham led off. He walked, and then Judge got on base. Grisham walked in the game, but Judge got on base. And Goldschmidt tripled him in. So that made it 1-0 Yankees. And the Rockies got all of their runs in the 4th inning and the 5th inning. They scored a run in the 4th inning and then 2 in the 5th. That was off of Tim Hill. They took out Clark Schmidt, who really didn't have it. I mean, he wasn't bad, but he threw a lot of pitches in this game. And you figured with the lineup like the Rockies, who have struggled, you thought he'd be able to do well. But you could also say, hey, they're playing at Coors Field. If that played a role, I don't know. But Clark Schmidt didn't really have it. He got through 4 2/3 innings. He didn't make it out of the 5th. All the runs were charged to him because Tim Hill came in. He gave up the double that scored a couple of guys. Ryan McMahon hit a 2-run double in the bottom of the 5th, and that was the difference in the game. And I'm sitting there going, they're really going to lose to the Rockies, aren't they? And that's what happened. That's what happened. Other than Aaron Judge and Paul Goldschmidt, the offense really didn't do anything on Friday. And that's a game that you have to win because this team is not good. And I said anything less than a sweep is not great. But you go back to last year, and I've been saying this as I hit my water bottle off to the side here in frustration. As I said over the weekend after they sustained that loss, go back to last year. They played the White Sox in Chicago. They dropped the first game of that series. So they have a habit of doing this. And it's baseball. Anybody can win at any given night. Now, the reason why the Yankees lost this game, like I said, is because they didn't hit. They only had 5 hits. Judge had 2 of them. Goldschmidt had the triple in the first inning. Dominguez had a hit. Austin Wells had a hit. That's it. DJ LeMahieu was 0 for 2. Yorban Vivas was 0 for 3. Volpe was 0 for 3. We'll talk about him today a little bit more. Ben Rice was 0 for 4 with 2 strikeouts. Trent Grisham was 0 for 3 with the strikeout. The offense didn't do anything, and that's why they lost. And it's not like they got embarrassed like they did a couple years ago when they played there, when Judge had the broken toe, where like the Rockies, they embarrassed the Yankees. I think they won. I don't know. Did the Rockies sweep them? They won like 2 out of 3. The Rockies definitely won the series, but yeah, that was not a good series. But the Yankees, they did make up for it. I jokingly would say I'm not impressed because you lost the first game, but the following day, they put up a 10 spot in the 5th inning. Max Fried was on the mound, so you had to feel good that, before the 10 spot, you had to feel good that the Yankees were going to come in and get the win because they don't lose when Max Fried pitches. I mean, they did lose the game in Seattle in extra innings, but that was not because of Max Fried. When Max Fried pitches, yeah, they usually don't lose, and that continued. Once again, they put up a run in the first inning. They were going up against Kyle Freeland, who's now 0-7 on the season with a 5.86 ERA. The Yankees, they beat up on Rockies pitching in this game, but then the Rockies tied the game in the fourth inning. So Judge hit a home run in the first inning, but then Rockies picked up a run in the bottom of the fourth, but then the Yankees they batted around. Oswald Peraza had an RBI double to make it 2-1. Trent Grisham reached on a throwing error that scored a run. Cody Bellinger had a sac fly. Volpe had a hit, an RBI single to make it 5-1. Dominguez a sacrifice fly to make it 6-1. Austin Wells a 2-run double to make it 8-1. Goldschmidt singled, and then Trent Grisham doubled. That scored a couple of runs. So yeah, it was 11-1 after that big fifth inning. Yankees tacked on another run in the top of the eighth. Volpe, an RBI double that scored Bellinger. LeMahieu had an RBI single in that inning to make it 13-1. And the Yankees got the win. Max Fried improves to 7-0 on the season. He went 7 1/3, gave up 6 hits, 1 earned run, 1 walk, 7 strikeouts. And then Ian Hamilton pitched the rest of the way. Yankees didn't really have to use anybody other than him. He pitched an inning in 2/3, 2 hits, no runs, no walks, 3 strikeouts. But that was a good spot to put him in because he's kind of been going through it. He's been struggling as of late. So, it was good to get him out there in mop-up time and, put in work to, finish the job for the Yankees. And then we go to Sunday's game, which, was a near heart attack because, the Yankees were losing that game in the beginning. They, once again, scored in the first inning, but then the Rockies put up 2 runs in the bottom of the first. This was with Will Warren pitching. And actually, to touch upon Will Warren, so he looked like he didn't have it, right, in the beginning of the game. He looked like he did not have control of anything, and it looked like this game was going to get away from the Yankees. But to give him a lot of credit, he gave up the 2 runs, but he was able to get out of it. So he gives up a leadoff double, then a single, then a walk. So bases loaded, nobody out, and you're thinking, oh no, this is gonna unravel, isn't it? Because Will Warren has been pitching really well, but you figure at some point he's gonna lay an egg, and that didn't necessarily happen here. He did throw a wild pitch that led to a run, then got Ryan McMahon to ground out. That was the first out of the inning, so it was 2-1. But then he strikes out Brenton Doyle, and then this looked like this was going to be an infield hit. Michael Taglia, I think that's how you pronounce his name. He grounded out. He was safe initially, but they reviewed it and they ruled him out. So it would have been 3-1, but because he was now ruled out, that run didn't count, and it was 2-1. So thankfully, Will Warren escaped, and then he ended up pitching well. There was a rain delay. He ended up not coming back in, but for the 4 innings that he did pitch, 2 hits, 2 earned runs, 2 walks, 7 strikeouts, and then the bullpen finished the rest of the game. Loizica, he gave up a run in his appearance. He pitched in an inning and 2/3. Mark Leiter Jr., who continues to pitch well, he pitched an inning and a third. 1 walk, 2 strikeouts. Devin Williams, again, another outstanding performance. 3 strikeouts. Struck out the side in his inning of work. And then Luke Weaver came in, picked up his 8th save, but it wasn't easy. It was not easy because he came in, and even last night too against the Angels, he hasn't really had it. He hasn't been sharp. Now, fortunately, the Yankees have picked up 2 wins when he's come in. He's probably not going to pitch tonight if they're in a safe situation. So, look, Luke Weaver is not going to be spectacular every single time he goes out there. But you know what? He's the Yankees closer right now. And I know it's kind of flip-flopped, but Devin Williams and Luke Weaver at the back end of the bullpen, as of late, it has been money. And Devin Williams, we talked about this, he's turned the corner. He has looked like a much different pitcher than what we saw early on in the year. But yeah, to go back to this final game, to put a bow on this Rocky series. So, like I said, Luke Weaver did not have it. They were still able to get out of it, but he gives up a home run to lead off the inning, I believe. Yeah, to lead off the inning. It was to Mickey Moniak. Remember him? He used to be on the Angels, who the Yankees are playing right now. But he leads off the inning with a home run to make it 5-4. Then they do pick up an out. Nick Martini, he lines out to Cody Bellinger. But then he gives up a hit. Luke Weaver does. Then gives up another single. So back-to-back singles. So now you got two guys on base. He gets Tovar to fly out, and then he gets Hunter Goodman to ground out, and he gets out of it. But, yeah, that wasn't easy. That was not easy. And how many pitches did he throw? So Luke Weaver, in that appearance, he threw 21 pitches. So, but he was able to get out of it, picked up his 8th save. His ERA on the season right now is .73. I mean, we'll take it. Like, he's been great. Yeah, like I said, he's not going to be flawless every single time he goes out there, right? At some point, yeah, he's going to blow a game here or there. But that hasn't happened. The Yankees have been able to hold on to these games, and the same thing with last night. So they take 2 out of 3 from the Rockies. Would have liked to have been for it to have been a sweep, but we'll take it. So now we go to Anaheim, where the Yankees sometimes have problems playing out in Anaheim, right? That happens. And you thought that was going to be the case when it started because the Yankees don't do anything in the top of the first. And then Zach Neto, who's been pretty good for the Angels this year. Right now on the year, he's batting .283. He hit his 9th home run last night. He's got 20 RBIs, 8 stolen bases. He's got an OPS of .875. He hits a home run, a leadoff home run, to make it 1-0 against Ryan Yarbrough. But that was it. That was it, right? The Angels couldn't do anything after that. Ryan Yarbrough pitched really well. 6 innings, 2 hits, 1 earned run, 1 walk, 7 strikeouts. I mean, ever since they made the change and they put him in the rotation to be the 5th starter and they replaced Carlos Carrasco with him, he's been good. He's been good. And this is a guy that was with the Blue Jays. The Blue Jays let him go and the Yankees picked him up. And I actually liked it because he's a guy that, could be an opener. You could pitch him out of the bullpen. He could come in and pitch, 4 or 5 innings. But this time, the Yankees pushed him through 6 innings. So, and then the bullpen did its job. You had De Los Santos come in. He pitched an inning and a third. Mark Leiter Jr. I mean, his ERA is down to 2.38. He's been one of their best relievers, a guy that they acquired at the trade deadline last year, and we all kind of had mixed feelings on him, but got a lot of big outs in the playoffs, and, he's been good. He's been good. And his velocity is up a little bit, right? Because when we first got him, he was I guess he was around like 92, 93, but now he's throwing like 94 and even 95, so you like to see that, the increase in velocity. And then, of course, Luke Weaver came in, got into a little bit of trouble, but he was able to get out of it. But the Yankees, they put up a 4 spot in the top of the 4th. Cody Bellinger got walked in, and that scored a run. And then Anthony Volpe comes up, and he hits a bases-clearing double that scores Trent Grisham, Aaron Judge, and Cody Bellinger. So that made it 4-1. And then in the top of the 8th, Austin Wells hit a sac fly. But that was a big hit for Volpe. And Volpe, to talk about him right now, he's been getting a lot of heat, including myself. Now, I'm not as brutal as some of these other Yankee fans, but Volpe, even in the Subway Series, he would come up in these big spots, and he wouldn't deliver. And you saw it in the Rocky Series, the final game. He picked up 3 hits. Well, actually, in the second game against the Rockies, he picked up 3 hits, had 2 RBIs, and then he had a hit in the final game. But he picked up the big hit that scored 3 runs. And if you look, his last 7 games, he's batting .296. He's got an on-base percentage of .321 and a slugging of .556. He has no home runs. He has 6 RBIs. Look, on the season, he's batting .244, 6 homers, 31 RBIs, 7 stolen bases. He's got an OPS of .763. Honestly, it could be a lot worse. The problem with Volpe is I felt like he was propped up to be the next great Yankee shortstop. And that's how everybody feels. And that he was going to be this 300 hitter. He was going to be this hitting machine. And that hasn't happened. That hasn't happened. But you know what? He plays a good glove. And again, I've said this in some of the other podcasts that I've done. He had a big postseason. He was good in the World Series, right? He hits that grand slam. He is a productive player for him. The thing with him, he's streaky. That's what he is. He's a streaky player. And we just got to live with it. You got to take the good with the bad. Now, I think really for me is when you had Brian Cashman say when he went on his like when he was met with the media. I think this was this. I think this was the after 2023. If you guys remember what I'm talking about. And he was saying, well, if Volpe goes out there and he has this great year, he throws random numbers out there, then, you're going to say, wow, you were right. And that never happened. Like, Volpe last year was not a 300 hitter. Now, he had his moments, because if you remember last year, well, obviously you remember last year. I keep saying that. But last year, when they had him leading off and then you had Soto and Judge, everyone was like, wow, this is like the best 1, 2, 3 in baseball right now. Because Volpe was getting on base, and then you had, the two guys batting behind him. But then Volpe started to struggle, and then he got moved out of the leadoff spot, and then the Yankees had to continue to mix and match on who they would want to bat leadoff, and then they finally figured it out with Gleyber Torres. But Volpe is a streaky hitter, but you know what? The guy plays every single day, and you have to appreciate that. The guy plays every single day, and he plays hard. He runs the bases for the most part well. He plays good defense. And look, if he was batting like Oswald Peraza is batting right now, then I think we really should complain. But he's not the focal point of the Yankees lineup. You got other guys in the lineup that are going to score runs. Specifically, Judge, Goldschmidt, and Bellinger as of late. Those are the big three. Grisham's kind of cooled off a little bit. Ben Rice, it kind of upsets me what they're doing with Ben Rice, but I can't fault them for it because you got so many guys that are producing. But I feel like Ben Rice has been losing a lot of playing time as of late, and they're doing the best they can to try to get him in there. And it's going to get a lot worse because we'll get into some injury updates as well on this podcast today. But yeah, I just kind of feel bad that he's losing play time, and I feel like that's kind of affecting, his at bats. But I mean, and it is going to because, you're not playing all the time. You're not playing consistently. So I think the one that you really got to get on more is Austin Wells. Austin Wells has been worse than Volpe. I mean, at least Volpe has been getting hits. I mean, Austin Wells did pick up a hit in the Rocky series, but I mean, Austin Wells, he's been disappointing. I think he's been more of a disappointment than Volpe has. He got off to a hot start. He had a great spring. He hits the 2 home runs in the first 2 games of the year. And you thought, man, this guy's going to hit 20-plus home runs this year. Now, he might still end up doing that. But I don't like what I've seen out of Austin Wells. And I think some people are calling for J.C. Escara to play more. I don't think so. I like what I've seen from Escara at times. But I think for me, and they've put Ben Rice in to catch, that's who I would have behind the plate if Wells continues to struggle, because then you have arguably your best lineup when you get more of your guys back. So, yeah, Austin Wells I think has been more of a disappointment. But look, Volpe, he got a big hit the other night. It's just Volpe comes up in these big spots and you're like, you got to deliver, and then he almost never does. So that's where the frustration comes from. And some of his at-bats can be, like, some of the pitches that he swings at, you're like, what are you doing? Sometimes he has trouble with the high fastball. So, yeah, that's where that comes with Volpe. But he's been okay. Like I read off his numbers, he's been okay this year. I think we need to see more out of Wells because I think we all were really looking for Austin Wells to take that next step. So, but you know what? The Yankees on this road trip now, they're 3-1. You'll take it. And you got Carlos Rodon pitching tonight. So usually when he's been pitching as of late, you expect the Yankees to win. And the Angels aren't a very good team. Now I give Ron Washington credit because you forget that he's the manager. They're hovering around 500. Mike Trout is on the injured list. Hopefully he gets back soon. I mean, I don't really expect the Angels to do anything this year. They're not an awful team. They're like right now they're a mediocre team. That's what they are. But yeah, hopefully Trout gets back soon. Yeah, look, the Yankees got to take this series. They got to take this series. And this is a long road trip because you go from Colorado and then you're out in LA basically the whole week because you got the Angels now and then you got the Dodgers, the World Series rematch later in the week, which I'm amped up for. I'm excited for that. Should be. I hope it's a good series. I was gonna say it should be a good series. I hope it's gonna be a good series. But yeah. So Rodon's pitching tonight. Hopefully the Yankees get the win, and then maybe you try to go for the sweep tomorrow. They have an off day on Thursday. So I actually, before we wrap up here, let's talk about some updates. So we got some injury news, injury updates, and some trade talks as well. Well, not really trade talks, more so what potential targets for the Yankees at the trade deadline. Now, there's no specific names, but there's reports out there the Yankees are aggressively pursuing a right-handed bat, preferably to play third base. And I think you do need that because you look at, as I hit the water bottle again in frustration, Oswald Peraza has been playing really good third base defensively, but he's giving you nothing at the plate. He's batting 158. He's got a 532 OPS. Last night he had 3 strikeouts. He was overmatched. That's not going to cut it. And look, DJ LeMahieu, he had that game against the Mets where, he hits the home run. He was hitting the ball hard. He was putting up good at bats. But how long is that going to last? The Yankees need another bat. And Oswaldo Cabrera is probably not coming back this year because of the injury that he suffered a couple weeks ago or last week, whenever they were in Seattle. But you need another bat, and I don't know who that's going to be. I don't know who's out there that the Yankees could potentially go out and target. We'll have to take a look, but that is a position that is going to need an upgrade. And there's also a possibility that they could try to add a starter, which I don't think is bad. I know there are Yankee fans that were saying, hey, let's get DeGrom. No, that's not happening. They're not getting Jacob DeGrom. There's a reason that Jacob DeGrom, and I don't know what the contract we don't want to take, but I don't know if he has a no trade clause. Because if he has a no trade clause, he's not going to, I don't think he's going to want to get traded to the Yankees. Because he left the Mets. He didn't want to pitch in New York anymore. And that's not an insult to the Mets. I guess he just did not want to pitch in New York anymore. So that's why he went to Texas. So I don't think DeGrom's getting traded back to New York and to the Yankees. It's not happening. Now, would I would love that? Absolutely. He's pitching really well. And what's weird is he picked up the loss the other day and didn't strike out a batter, and he pitched well. Right? He had a solid start. So that was interesting. Because, you expect DeGrom to strike at least one guy out. But I don't know. I don't know why that happened. But, the Rangers, their offense continues to not be very good. But, yeah, so the Yankees are interested in trying to get a third baseman, potentially, and a starter. That's what they're going to try to address at the deadline. And we'll see what happens. There are some bad teams, like the Rockies that they just played. Yeah, I don't know. But let me know what you guys think, who they could potentially get. So now let's talk about some updates on guys that are hurt right now. So Giancarlo Stanton is going to be facing live pitching and could be getting a rehab assignment in a couple weeks. And Jazz Chisholm also could start a rehab assignment as soon as the end of the week. So getting those two guys back, I mean, this lineup already, it's top in baseball in a lot of categories. And now I know Jazz wasn't hitting well before he got hurt, but I think we'll see a better version of Jazz this time around. I'm optimistic because look at what he did when the Yankees first got him at the trade deadline last year. All those big home runs he was hitting, he was doing well. He was doing well. Now, yeah, I would like to see a better approach at the plate with him, better plate discipline, because some of the pitches that he swings at what are you doing? Same thing when I was saying with Volpe. What are you doing? But to get Jazz back, that would be huge. And obviously getting Stanton back in any capacity, it just lengthens the lineup. So, and remember what we were hearing at the beginning of the year? That it looked like, man, Stanton could be out the whole year. But he's going to come back, and he's going to have to manage the pain, which he did in the postseason. Look, as long as the guy is healthy for October, that's all that matters. So, encouraging news there. Also, Luis Gil positive updates on him. I think they said he's going to start throwing off a mound soon. So, yeah, I mean, he's going to be back at some point over the summer, you hope. And the Yankees will, for the most part, not getting Garrett Cole back this year, they'll be at full strength as long as nobody else gets hurt. So, Yankees are looking good right now. A lot of positive updates with the guys that are hurt right now that are going to be coming back within the coming weeks, months. And right now, they have a 6-game lead in first place of the AL East. They're 33-20, 8-2 in their last 10 games. I mean, their run differential is the best in baseball. It's 111. And you know what the Rockies' run differential is? Minus 173. It's horrible. And this is what you want. Now, there were some games that they did lose this year that they should have won, but you know what? You take 33-20. I didn't know what the Yankees were going to look like this year with the changes that they made, but Plan B is doing well. Aaron Judge is having a season for the ages once again. The starting rotation has been great. The bullpen has been solid. Actually, I also forgot to mention, speaking of the bullpen, Fernando Cruz also, who's on the IL. I think he's going to be throwing again soon. Get him back, too, because he's been one of the Yankees' best relievers as well. But things are looking good in Yankee land. But let me know what you guys think about the Rocky series, about the game last night with the Angels. Again, I said this at the start. Make sure to check out the Knicks recap video that I posted of games 2 and 3. Game 4 is tonight, so let's go Knicks. Yankees continue their series with the Angels tonight, so let's go Yankees as well. Make sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. Also, check us out on TikTok. I have it in the description on the videos. It's Infinite-Sports 1. I think that's what it is. So, yeah, check us out on TikTok. Follow us. And wherever you get your podcasts as well. If you want to listen to us on the go, we're also on there as well if you want to listen to us. But, yeah, that's pretty much it from me. I'll be back again tomorrow to recap the Knicks game as well as recap the Yankee game that is tonight as well. We'll recap that tomorrow. And hopefully get to some more football stuff. I definitely want to talk some football with you guys as well. So, as always, I'm your host, Kenneth Gruenfelder, signing off. Have a good one, and I will talk to you guys next time. Take care.